This Arc Hunter build will one-shot everything in front of you. So in this build, we're going to be stacking as much damage as possible to our melee ability, aka Tempest Strike. So we're going to be using our weapons, our fragments, and also our seasonal artifacts. What's really cool is that you don't really need to use your seasonal artifacts. So once this season is over, you can use this build onward, because we're mainly focusing on two things. The first one is our exotic weapon. The second one is our stat. And I also forgot to mention that you're going to be extremely tanky for this build. And if you are planning on using this build in endgame content, I got you covered. This build will do the trick. So without wasting any of your time, let's get right into this build. To start off, I want to talk about the Arcstrider Hunter subclass, specifically the aspects. The two main aspects you're going to want to put is Tempest Strike. This is the aspect that will help us one-shot everything in front of us. But in order for you to activate this aspect, while you slide, activate your charge melee ability to unleash a devastating uppercut that will travel along in front of you onto the ground, and it would hit targets. When it hits the target, it will jolt enemies. And lastly, defeating jolted targets will grant a stack of bolt charge. And to perfectly tie this arc aspect for the melee ability, you're gonna have to go for combination blow, because this will increase your melee damage even further when you defeat targets, and it will give you 3 stacks of these. Also too, when you defeat targets with this ability, it will grant class ability energy, and it would also restore a small portion of health. So basically, you're gonna override your melee ability with Tempest Strike. And also too, what's really cool about Tempest Strike is that when it comes to getting stacks for combination blow, so instead of you needing to get 3 individual kills with your Tempest Strike, as long as their enemies grouped up and they were to die by your jolting effects for Tempest Strike, you're going to be getting more stacks of combination blow. For the other aspect you're going to want to put is called Ascension. This will give you amplified to you and your allies that are around you, and it would also jolt enemies. And in order for you to activate this aspect, you're going to want to jump into the air and activate your corresponding button. For me, it is B, and once you activate it, you're going to be getting all of those benefits. And in this build, our goal is to jolt as many enemies as possible to give us a damage resist. We'll get onto that later. For the other two abilities, you're going to want to go for Gambler's Dodge. In order for you to activate this, you can either dodge when there's no enemies around you, but if you want to gain increased class ability energy, you're going to want to dodge near an enemy. And lastly, this also scales with your melee stat. So for this build, your goal is to reach 200 within your melee stats. This is a melee build, so the more melee stat we have, the more damage you're going to be inflicting. And what's really cool about any dodges when it comes to the Hunter and also the aspect Ascension, if you were to activate Ascension, it would actually activate Gambler's Dodge in a way. For example, when you activate Ascension while you're in mid-air, it will refund your melee back, which is really nice. And for your Arc Grenade, I recommend going for Flashbang Grenade just to stun unstoppable champions. And lastly, for the fragments, there's going to be 5 in total. Here's what you're going to want to run. The first one is Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants who are more resistant to incoming damage, this will give us a 25% damage resistance when you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies. And this will also stack with the exotic armor piece we're going to be using for this build. For your second fragment, go for Spark of Frequency. Melee hit increase your equipped weapon's reload speed and stability for a short duration. While you are amplified, in which case we are going to be 100% of the time, the effects are increased and you gained increased stacks of bolt charge from all sources. And remember, for Tempest Strike, whenever we were to defeat jolted enemies, we will get a bolt charge. So now, as long as we are amplified, we're going to be getting 2 bolt charges every time we kill a jolted enemy. And for your third fragment, go for Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. For your fourth fragment, go for Spark of Focus. After sprinting for a short time, your class ability regeneration is increased. There's gonna become a time where you accidentally whiff your melee or your dodge, and you're not gonna have any of those two. So just by you sprinting, you're gonna be getting a lot of class ability regeneration. And also too, you're gonna be running a lot. The fifth and final fragment I went with is Spark of Ions. Defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with a bolt charge will create an ionic trace. And in this build, we're going to be applying those two. For the exotic armor piece I went with is Gifted Conviction. This will grant us a 50% damage resist, but in order for you to activate this, you're going to want to use either your Ascension or Tempest Strike, and in this build, we're going to be using both of those. So once you activate any of those two, it will throw bouncing explosives at nearby targets that will jolt and damage them. When you jolt nearby targets, it will grant you a damage resist. All right, I want to talk about the exotic weapon you're going to want to use for this build, and it's called Bastion. This will increase your melee damage out of the wazoo. But in order for you to activate this to increase your melee damage even further, you're going to want to shoot an enemy and make all of your projectiles hit that single enemy to activate Saint's Fist. So hitting a target with most of the pellets within a burst will increase the melee damage for a short time. Don't worry about the short time, you're going to have plenty enough time activating Tempest Strike. And also too, after a successful melee hit, this weapon gains increased damage, reduced charge time, and improved reload speed for a short time. So what you're going to want to do is you can either use your basic melee, your combination blow, or your Tempest Strike, but I already know what you're going to use, your Tempest Strike. You're going to use that first, then activate your Ascension to get your melee back, and then once you have that, you're going to use Bastion for the increased damage, reduced charge time, and reload speed. And once you inflict that, you're going to increase your damage for your Tempest Strike. You're going to use your Tempest Strike again, and that enemy will get one-shotted. And for the perk for the Bastion, it will grant you the ability to stun unstoppable champions. For the energy weapon, I went with this Void auto rifle called Reckless Oracle because of two things. One, applying volatile to enemies, which will convert that into an overshield. We're going to want to get a Void overshield to increase our melee damage even further, because in the seasonal artifacts, I went with this one on the 5th column called Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or a Void overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. So this will grant you a 50% increase in damage for your melee ability. I just want to let you guys know that you don't really need to use Shield Crush. Bastion will just carry you throughout any activity you're playing. But if you're one of those gamers that really want to prioritize in increasing your damage even further, then be sure to go for that seasonal artifact and also find a Void primary that has destabilizing rounds and repulsor's brace. For the power weapon, I went with a combat bow called the Submersion just to stun anti-barrier champions. And the perks that I went with are auto-loading holster and chill clip. If you want to copy the seasonal artifacts, feel free to do so right now. All right, let's head to the stats for the build. Your first priority is to go to 200 within your melee stats, because once you're at 200 within your melee stats, it would give you a 30% increase in damage to your melee ability. So that will be your combination blow or your Tempest Strike. And your second priority, go for your class stats. I recommend going to 70 at most, but if you want to go further to increase your class ability regeneration because of Spark of Focus, then go for it. Okay, let's talk about the armor mods you're going to want to put for this build. Just to give you guys a heads up that I put these armor mods because I feel most comfortable using it. If you think there's some mods that need to be changed, go for it. For my helmet, I went with Special Ammo Finder to increase the effect of the Special Ammo Meter, so I can get more special ammo for my Bastion. And for the other mod, I went with Hands On. You gain bonus super energy on melee kills. So if you want to get more super energy, then I do recommend prioritizing and getting at least 100 within your super stat. And for the third mod, I went with Kinetic Siphon. This one isn't necessary. If you're thinking you're not getting any rapid kills with your Bastion, you can swap it off to any other mod you like. So Rapid Kinetic Weapon Final Blows would generate an Orb of Power. For my Gauntlet, I went with Triple Heavy-Handed. Here's why. So for a single Heavy-Handed, the cooldown when it comes to generating an Orb of Power whenever you get a powered melee final blow, it will be 10 seconds. But in this build in particular, we're going to be spamming our Tempest Strike. If you have 3 copies of Heavy-Handed, the cooldown between generating an Orb of Power is 1 second. For the chest, I went with Resist mods. I went with Harmonic Resistance. It's basically arc damage resistance. The other one is Solar Resistance, and the third and final one is Melee Damage Resistance, because we're going to be as close as possible to our enemies. For the leg armor, I went with Better Already for more survivability. Your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an Orb of Power. For the next one, I went with Kinetic Scavenger to increase my ammo gains whenever I pick up a special ammo brick for my Bastion. And lastly, I went with Absolution. It will reduce all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an Orb of Power. For the Hunter Cloak, I went with 2 Reaper. So the cooldown between activating Reaper is 5 seconds. So whenever you use your class ability, your next weapon final blow will spawn in an Orb of Power. And this also applies to Ascension, which is really nice. So whenever you activate Ascension, you're going to be activating Reaper, and also this other mod that I went with called Powerful Attraction. Automatically collects nearby orbs of power whenever you activate your class ability. And I know we're going to be hoarding a lot of armor charges, so I highly recommend removing one of the Reaper mods to Special Finisher if you want to produce as much special ammo as possible. So here's the gameplay loop for the build. You're first going to want to find enemies. You're going to use your Tempest Strike to give you those 3 stacks. Once you have those 3 stacks, I'm going to be doing that right now. Keep getting more kills, dodge, and all that stuff. I have ×2. Let me get one more. I have ×3. Once you have ×3, go find an enemy you want to kill. For me, it is this Unstop. I'm going to use my Bastion to increase my damage. And then as what you see there, he just falls over. All right, just to give you guys an example for Shield Crush, I'm going to get my ×3 combination blows. Once I have that, I'm going to try to hopefully get a Void Overshield. I have ×3 right now. I'm going to go around to hopefully get a Void Overshield. Let's see if I can get it. I got the Void Overshield. I'm going to hit this goober right here, and then like this, and he just falls over. Rinse and repeat. That's all you got to do if you want to prioritize increasing your melee damage even further. If you guys did enjoy this build video, I hope that helped you and you learned something new. And if you did, I would greatly appreciate it if you were to hit that like button and also subscribe. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, evening, or afternoon. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.